For as much as I love movies like 2001 and Shawshank Redemption, I've also began to notice recently that I'm the type of guy who appreciates a lot of media that most people probably don't even like to acknowledge. Spider-Man 3 is my favorite superhero movie, Crypt of the Serpent King is one of my favorite games, and The Happening just might be my favorite comedy of all time. Now, if you're a person with an IQ above 6, then chances are that you're looking at this lineup and are thinking to yourself that I'm an idiot. And you're right. While I enjoy my fair share of masterfully written and expertly shot movies and TV shows, I'm a little ashamed to admit that I also enjoy an unhealthy amount of just straight up trash, for no other reason than that they're funny and they're endless entertainment to me. To a certain extent. As much as I love Revenge of the Sith, I've got to take at least a 6-month break before I watch that movie again. But there's one series in particular that always keeps me coming back time and time again. A series that's unlike any other out there. And a series that I surprisingly find myself having to defend enjoying more than any other piece of media that I like.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville, welcome to Jackass! Whoa!
Airing as an MTV TV series in the late 2000s and continuing even at the time of writing this script, Jackass might just be the most polarizing series of the 21st century so far. If you like Jackass, I bet that you can think of a time in your life when you've had to defend liking it. And throughout my life, I've had to justify liking it over and over again. So much so that I usually don't even bring it up with somebody if I don't already know that they like it. Because typically there's a good 70% chance they're going to tell me something along the lines of, "Really? Jackass? Why would you like that garbage?" And I just usually don't feel like having to defend myself over and over again. Because honestly, how am I supposed to do that in the first place? By its very nature, it goes against everything you'd think of when you hear the word movie. Jackass is a stunt, comedy, sketch, prank TV show / movie series that follows the Jackass crew as they prank each other, hurt themselves, perform stunts, use gross out humor, and pretty much just laugh in the face of what everyone considers to be acceptable to be aired on the big screen. So when people tell me it's stupid, it's pointless, it's gross, all it is just people hurting themselves, and there's no art to it at all. All that I can say to that is, you're right. Except for that last part. Chances are that when the word art is brought up, the very last thing that you'd think of is Johnny Knoxville getting blasted with a riot grenade for no other reason than it's footage. Chances are that you don't think of Ryan Dunn giving his best friend a dick-shaped brand simply because it's funny. The word art has an aura around it that seems to embody the themes of culture, sophistication, and deep, complex thought. And on a surface level, Jackass doesn't really have any of that. But the fact that I'm able to derive so much pleasure and entertainment from these movies, to me personally, brings into question what we consider to be art in the first place. You hear the word art and immediately images of paintings, classical music pieces, and older movies pop into your head. Classy things that society has built up over the years to be the textbook definition of what art is and should strive to be. Therefore, you read that definition I've just laid out and you draw the conclusion that Jackass isn't art, it's the exact opposite of it. But let me ask you a question. Is purposefully making something so contrary to everything you'd normally expect that it appears revolting in art form? Yes. Yes, it is. And with that in mind, you can truly begin to see the genius behind Jackass and what makes it so down-to-earth and relatable. The art of anti-art. There's a method behind Johnny Knoxville's madness, whether he knows it or not. And there's a reason why the people who enjoy Jackass love it so much. You see, whether or not we want to admit it, we all have the potential to end up like a member of the Jackass crew. I'll bet you could think of a time in your life right now when a friend suggested doing something fun that could very likely result in you getting hurt, and you turned it down because you were afraid. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's human nature and basic instinct to not want to put yourself in harm's way and want to stay safe. But it's in that very human instinct that the true beauty and art of Jackass starts to present itself. We are all born with a naive desire to do stupid stuff. We all want to act like kids, pull jokes on one another, say obnoxious things every now and then, and do dangerous stuff that looks like it could possibly be fun, but are restrained time and time again by our own human nature and by the cultured society that we find ourselves living in. You don't realize it, but we live in fear every day of what people will think of us based on the things that we say and do. We fear of doing things that might hurt ourselves, fear of what might happen to us if we talk the way exactly how we want to talk. We fear being looked down upon. And Jackass lets us live out those fantasies that we've been imagining for so long in a way that doesn't affect you or the people around you. We get to imagine ourselves going through the pain of the Jackass crew. We get to sympathize and feel the pain right alongside them while having a good laugh. Even if it's only for a moment, you put yourself in their shoes and you get to imagine yourself living in their very odd world where manners just don't seem to exist and they get to completely let loose. I look back and I can think of a bunch of different times that I've watched a Jackass stunt and I've debated to myself whether or not I would be willing to go through with it or not. And chances are that if you like Jackass, you can too. In a way, Jackass is human nature in its most primal form. It's completely free from the judgmental gaze of society. We've all thought about pranking our friends and then chickened out by saying to ourselves, no, that's mean. But Jackass looks at it and says, why not? When I get down to it, I guess I don't really have any super deep life lessons from Jackass to end this video off with. None that a majority of you would find relatable at least. I just wanted to take this chance to say a few words about a series that I hold surprisingly dear to my heart. But if I had to come up with one, I'd say that we could all stand to have a little Johnny Knoxville attitude in our lives. Life's too short to be spent worrying about how people think of the way you act. And we could all stand to do something outside of our comfort zones every once in a while. And if you can't find it within yourself to cut loose and have a little fun, then you can always count on the Jackass crew to do it for you, so that you can put yourself in their shoes and let loose in your mind.
High five!